When I think back about how I ended up doing this work, it all started with striving, not so much with crystals or meditation or wanting to be spiritual. But for me, going back to the birth of this whole path started with striving for a perfect life, to be a perfect mother, to be a perfect academic, striving to be the woman who could hold a full-time job, raise young kids, work on a PhD, manage a household, keep everyone together, and still smile through it all. For years, I lived inside a version of success that wasn't mine, but I didn't realize it at the time. Degree after degree, title after title, house, career, achievements, all of the things we're told to chase because they're supposed to make us feel whole. And I chased them. I worked harder than anyone. I held everything together. People admired me. On paper, I had it all. But inside, I felt empty, disconnected. Like no matter how much I achieved, there was always this missing piece. And because I'm an academic by training, I tried to think my way through it, reflect, analyze, problem solve. But no matter how much I understood, I couldn't fix that feeling. There was this old dream inside me, something I kept alive even when it no longer fit the life I was living. I hung on to it though, because letting it go felt like failure, but holding on to it felt like dragging a weight I couldn't name. I kept thinking, when I finish the PhD, I'll feel better. When the kids are older, I'll feel aligned. When I get this promotion, everything will make sense. But every time I reached the next milestone, nothing changed inside. I had the job, the title, the house, the life other people told me I should want. And still, I felt lost. Like I was living someone else's definition of success, someone else's definition of what a good mother, a good wife, a good career woman, a good academic was all supposed to be. That's when the cracks really started to show. There was a moment in particular, nothing dramatic, just a moment in my own body where I realized I can't keep living like this. I'm going to explode. And that moment is what opened the door because all my academic training, all the analysis, frameworks, intellectual mastery left me completely unequipped to deal with what was happening inside me. My mind couldn't answer the question my soul was asking. So I reached for something different, almost out of desperation. I started learning about energy, not the abstract concept, but what it feels like inside the body, how it moves, how it gets stuck, how it speaks. I trained in Reiki. I learned EFT. I learned grounding practices. And the first time I felt my own energy shift, my perspective cracked open. I realized the world is so much bigger than what happens in the mind. There were buried things in me, emotional, ancestral, spiritual, that no amount of thinking could touch. And once I started exploring beyond the intellectual, everything changed. I learned about the energy body, not as a metaphor, but as a lived reality. I learned about spirit, about the earth, about animism, about indigenous knowledge and ways of knowing that I had been taught to dismiss. I learned about ancestors, not as history, but as an active presence. I learned about guides, about the unseen world, and the communication that happens beneath words. And the more I learned, the more my soul just seemed to remember. Remember that I am connected. Remember that I am supported. Remember that I am held in ways traditional schooling never taught us to see. I remembered that my intuition was not gone. It was just buried under expectations and overwork. And my thirst for knowledge didn't disappear. It just transformed. I went from studying theory, research, and literature to studying energy, spirit, magic, healing, the elements, ancestral medicine, the layers of the self that Western frameworks refuse to see. It wasn't a rejection of my academic self, it was an expansion, a remembering of all the ways of knowing that my parents, my grandparents had abandoned just to survive, and they were not able to transmit those ways of knowing to me. And once I experienced that reconnection, once I felt myself come back online, I knew I couldn't keep this to myself. Energy healing wasn't a career choice. For me, it was a lifeline, a turning point, a moment where I finally chose to live a life defined by my own soul, not by other people's expectations. This work brought me home to myself. And now it's what I offer other women and clients who are tired of living lives that don't feel like theirs. Women who are high capacity, brilliant, responsible, hardworking, but disconnected from their inner world. Women who have checked all the boxes and still feel empty. Women who know deep down that there's something more, something ancient, intuitive, alive inside them waiting to be reclaimed. What drew me into energy healing wasn't curiosity, it was remembering, it was truth. It was a realization that I'm part of a world far bigger than achievement, productivity, or what happens in the mind. Energy healing called me inward to integrate all parts of myself, including my body, my spirit, my ancestors. And it called me back to my purpose. And I haven't looked back.